Next part of our super small animated page here is we're going to add something called Animate on Scroll. Now, if you're not familiar with this I'm going to show you. So go to Google and just search for Animate on Scroll. And it's this dude, or girl, I actually don't know. They created this library for us to use. So you might have seen this on different places. So Animate on Scroll is, you can see here, it fades up. When we get to a specific point of the page, it fades in, right? So that's, sorry. That's Animate on Scroll, and we're going to use this on our page to have these small effects. So if you're using NPM or things like this, you can do this. Or since we're just using kind of a plain page, we're going to use these things down here instead. So the things we're going to grab is this link here for the CSS, so the floating and everything. So we can also create this by ourselves, but we're lazy, right? Remember. So why do this when we can just use other people's works that they are graciously giving us for free? So just paste this in up here. I'm just going to do it before my jQuery link here. So linking to the CSS for this. And I'm also going to add a link to the, sorry, to the JavaScript part. And again, just do this up here as well. So let's just do this below this one. Bam, there we go. So we have linked to AoS JavaScript, and we have the one here. And the last part we need to do is for it to start or initialize, we need to have the system start it up. So initialize it down here. So we're going to copy the thing between the script. And since we already have JavaScript in place, we can just paste this in at the bottom of our page, right? So let's go down here. Where does it start? Our script here. So let's just do this. So that's all we need to do. So now we're initializing the Animate on Scroll, all the functionalities and so on and so on. Everything is attached to it. So let's click Save. Sorry. And let's go back here. And figure out what we want. So I'm just going to take some of the simple ones, like one of the top, so like fade in from right or whatever, right? Fade in, fade out, fade right. Let's take this one. This is the one we want. So first things first, we need to create a new section that we need to use, right? So we're going to use the same schematic as we had before. So we need a section. We're going to attach a class to this, and this class we're going to call section underscore center, or whatever you want to call it. Oh, sorry, there's actually a space between here. And then we're also going to attach an ID that we're going to use later. So section, and I'm going to call this underscore center. Again, you can rename it if you want to do something that's better. Again, this is just example, so not optimal naming, but whatever. It works. So inside this, we're going to create a div block that we're going to attach our Animate on Scroll on, right? So let's do an enter, and so we can see it a little bit better. And inside the div block, before it enter, we're going to do the data. So if we check out here, we can actually just copy this. That's probably easy. So we're taking data-AOS equals fade right. So let's just do this and do that. So this is kind of the first thing we need to do, and we can just really quickly test this by typing something weird here, right? So let's go save, let's go back to make sure it works. And we can scroll down further, which is all right. But we will make sure that it works a little bit later on. Cool, so that's the first part here. So inside this container here, we're going to set up a block. We're going to have everything in, which is the one we're going to animate, and then we're going to have 4 different containers to create 4 different animations that we'll do later on in this video series here. So we're going to create a class. Whoops, let's actually do it the correct way. It's dot, and then we're going to call this show of dash container. So that's let's call this the parent element for these 4 things here. We're going to use flex to control it. So we're going to create 4 different blocks, and we're going to also add them in a class, and we're going to call them show of dash. Let's just, whoops, I forgot to do something. Show off times 4, because we want 4 of them, right? And then in here we're going to add col -6. So kind of, if you're familiar with what's it called, Bootstrap and things like this, these frameworks, Beautifier and things like this, material design. It means we're going to take up half the space. So out of 12 columns, we're going to use 6 of those for this specific block, and the next, and the next, and the next, and so on and so on. So that's the first part. And in here, we're going to add, this is where we'll actually add our animations later on. We're just going to write 1, 2, 3, 4 for now. So don't worry about it later. We'll fix this later. We'll add later to it. So this is kind of the setup we want for now. If we save and go to our page and click yes, so now we can see there's actually nothing down here because the color is gone. Let's continue with it. And again, I think it's because we're using Animate and Scroll, but we're not further. We're not far enough down on the page to actually make it fade in. So it's there. We can actually check to see. So we can see it's there. They're just not being animated in because we're not there yet. All right. So that's kind of the first part of the setup here for the HTML. But before we kind of stop the video, I want to also show you that you can do more than just like the standard fade, and that's all you can do. If you scroll down to the bottom of the AoS, we're going to add a little bit more to it. And you view on GitHub, and you scroll past this information here. You can see there's many different things we can use. Also helps you install it different ways and so on and so on. But there are also other ways to add. So we can, for example, add an offset. I think I saw it down here. So offset, this is where we kind of want to add it to how far down the page do you want to go. In this case, 200 pixels. I think that's the default. We can set the duration, how long it should take. So if you're not happy with, like, I think it's 1 second standard. If you want to use 6 seconds, then you add 6,000 because it's in milliseconds. And you can also choose another easing. So ease in out, that's one way of doing. And I just found this easings.net if you want to see what the different easings do, right? So for example, ease out sign and seniors and coach, I don't know what the English word for that one is. But these are kind of the curves on how it's going to do it. So you can see ease in expo starts slowly and then speeds up and so on. I think we're just going to use this one up here because it's the first one. And we're going to attach this to our code. So let me show you how you do this fairly simple. So we have our fade in, right? Once we can actually scroll down, we can see it. You can remove this after, but we want to add a little bit more, -AoS, and the offset that we already saw. And we're going to offset it by, let's say, 300. And we're going to do a data-AoS and duration. Duration, is that spelled correctly so I don't mess it up, 1300. And then I'm going to do data-AoS what's it called, easing. And I wanted to do the ease in, sign. I want to make sure that is S-I-N-E. Yes, it is. So this is the extra or the change I want from the default. This is not needed. We're just switching around the default settings with our settings as well. But this one is needed for you. You need to choose which sort of fade, from which side you want to fade in and so on and so on. Cool. So let's click save. Just quickly do some CSS so we can actually see it working. So section, this is the one we want to attach it to. So let's go back to our styles, and I'm going to minimize this one as well. So class section, section.center. And I'm just going to give this really quickly a height of 100 view height so we can test. So if I refresh and scroll down, so make sure you check this part. I think it's going to be over here. There we go. It's offset. There we go. Ooh, go away. So it should, there we go. You can just see it's not super awesome. We will make it better in the next video. But you can see the animation actually works. Woo! Boom. There we go. Come on. Yeah. And you can just move around with duration and so on and so on. And that's basically the standard setup we're going to do in this video.